Hey y'all, Ramdino here, coming at you again for another Appalachian Trail Thru HIker update. We have got tons of information, a lot of exciting news, just neat stuff going on the trail, and I'm looking forward to sharing that with you in this episode. If you're new to the channel, this channel is all about supporting and building the hiker community and supporting the thru hikers as they take their trek on the Appalachian Trail, whether it be no-bow, so-bow, flip-flop, or all things in between. So we have still got some folks out there from 2020. Let's go ahead and get caught up on them. We got Crash Bash in Whole Foods. They are somewhere in the Hot Springs vicinity. So they will be shortly going on again south on their Subo trip down into the Smokies. So as we know, the Smokies can get pretty tough this time of year, and so we're looking forward to continue following them. They've had some snow, a lot of chilly weather out there on the trail right now, but they look like they are just having a ball and enjoying it. We've also been tracking Mighty Bones, and Mighty Bones, he was on his Subo trip on the Appalachian Trail. He decided to go ahead and get off, and he is going to, currently, he is on no-bow on the Pinhoti Trail. So he's out there on the Pinhoti with Potholder, and they are going to go no-bow up to the Benton McKay, hook up with the Benton McKay, and then go to Springer. And once they get to Springer, then they're going to go ahead and do a thru hike throughout the whole trail, and Potholder's going to be with him. So looking forward to him getting starting over on the Appalachian Trail and Potholder being with him. So that should be a good trip for those two. So those are all of the 2020 folks that we are tracking. If you know of anybody else out there, please let me know. Be glad to include them in the update as well. But let's go ahead and talk about the 2021 registrations we got going on. No-bow last week we had 1,792, and this week we had 1,944. So big week for no-bow and all the registrations. Last week flip-flops we had 76 were currently registered, and now this week we've got 91 flip-floppers that are registered. So-bow we had 66 last week, and this week we've got 77. So that brings our total up from 1,934 from last week to this week, which is 2,112, up over 178 from last week. So we have breached over that 2,000 mark, and we will more than likely get over the 3,000 mark as well. This time last year, I went back and looked at my old updates, and we are up over 604 hikers from this time last year. In 2020, we had 1,608 around this time, and in 2019, we had 1,235. So you can see that we're up this year from 2020, we're up 31%, and I kind of thought that this year would be a higher year just because, you know, a lot of people got off in 2020 because of COVID and people getting back on finishing. But so far, we're actually tracking pretty much where the kind of the curve has been for the trail, in that there's usually a third more people each year. Here is a graph I found from the ATC that kind of shows that curve going up each year. So we have we're increasing somewhere around a third every year. So I didn't realize that till I found this chart right here. So that's pretty interesting. Trail is also maxed out for 14 days. So last week is maxed out for 10. Now it's maxed out for 14. So max meaning that there's more than 38 people. So the Appalachian Trail sets the max capacity of the trail at 38 hikers. We'll talk about what that maximum capacity really means here in just a little bit. So, but we are up an additional 4 days, and that's probably going to climb. Last year I looked at it, and we actually had 2 days where we had 68 people starting on one day. So that happened twice last year during this particular time. So I didn't go back and look forward to see if we had that amount of people hiking, you know, on days again, you know, 68 people on other days, more than just twice. I'll be going back and look at that and letting you know. But that is a ton of folks. And last year, remember, the maximum capacity was at 50 hikers per day. So 38 is this year, and so we have maxed that out on 14 days. and that's going to grow, I'm sure. Now, one of the things also that I want to mention is that the numbers of registrations and the numbers of folks that I track is actually pretty low. I'm only tracking 200, so obviously that's running about 10% of the folks out there that are actually registered to hike, and then the registrations usually run anywhere from 10 to 30% low. Not everybody registers. Particularly this year, a lot of people are ticked off at the ATC, and so some people are just saying, I'm not going to register. There's no point in it since they're not recognizing me anymore and they're not handing out bag tags anymore. So I actually have quite a bit of information that I have found out from the ATC on some of that, on registrations and bag tags, and it's just too much for one update episode. So I'll be doing probably a midweek or sometime this coming week, I'll be doing another video that will talk about both of those more and let you know the information that I've gotten directly from the ATC on those subjects. So some 2021 hikers that we have got out there that are currently out there, and a couple that I did want to mention that are getting back on the trail. They are oldies but goodies. Don't mean anything by that age-wise, folks, because I'm probably older than both these folks, but they have already thru hiked, and they thru hiked recently, and they would say they would be what I would call personalities of the trail. And the reason I say that is because both these guys did quite a bit of vlogging while they're on the trail, and they did a lot of answering comments and stuff, and are really active on social media and dialoguing with the hiker community. And that is Underdog. He no-bowed in 2019 and finished, of course, at Katahdin. So he's getting back on the trail. And then we've also got Quicksand. He so-bowed in 2020, and he is getting back on in February. I'm not exactly sure when Underdog's getting back on. I think he's actually out on a different trail right now and going to be getting back on, and I don't know if he's going to be with Tractor or not. So Underdog, if you watch this, then leave us some comments down there. Let us know if you are going to be with Tractor and when you're going to be getting back on there. So some folks from that are out on the trail right now that just started. Happy he is on the trail. I thought he was going to be January 14th, but he got on January 1, and he should be in Franklin now. So he hadn't posted yet since he got on, but I'm sure that's going to be coming up any day now. And it's interesting, when I updated his first update from last year when he got on, I updated when he had just gotten to Neal's Gap. Then Zombie, he made it to Dix Creek Gap, and he should be in North Carolina, and with the state behind him, in the first state, Georgia, in another day or so. And now this is really what's neat is we actually have our first Sobos from 2021, and that is Greenleaf and Apple Pie. And so yes, you heard that right. They are Sobo from Katahdin. They summited Katahdin to start their Sobo trip, and they are somewhere, I believe they are in New Hampshire. Well, actually the last video I had from them in contact was around Sugarloaf Ski Mountain. So that's where they're at. They do a lot of short videos on their YouTube channel, and so I would encourage you to go and check them out. They're right now down at the bottom of the list because we just added them. Subman and Suds and Moonbeam made it to Neal's Gap, and they got off for a few days to get through some bad winter weather, but they're back on, I believe, yesterday, and they are heading to Dix Creek. And another thing interesting about Submans and Suds is they started last year, and about this time last year was when I did the first update for them, and they were at Woody's Gap is where I updated them from. So that doesn't mean they were going slower last year and faster this year. That just means that they actually started on a different day, so where I'm updating them for the first time this year is just a little further along in their trip. But they're doing great out there. Boxcar Willie, he got on trail, and he made it to Neal Gap. Kathy Driggers, she started December 30th, and she was registration hiker NOBO number 3, and she made it to Neal Gap. And then also we've got a calendar year triple crowners that are doing this year. We had a few last year that I don't know if any completed. None of the ones that we were following, to my knowledge, completed it. But this year we've got Sammy Potter and Jackson Parrell, I believe is how you pronounce his name. They have gotten started, and they are doing a calendar year triple crown, doing the Appalachian Trail first, and they are planning on doing about 30 miles a day on average. So it won't necessarily be every day. Some days will be more, some days will be less, but they will be. That's what their goal is in order to get through in 1 year through all of the trails. So they have posted that they are through North Carolina. I saw a post from them that they were at the North Carolina-Georgia border, and they are well into North Carolina now and probably coming up on Fontana, something like that. But they're not doing a lot of posting. They don't. They're not giving out their position or anything like that. I'm not really in contact with them. I'm just trying to follow along with them as you folks are, if you are. And I would encourage you to go and do that. So as you can see, right now we got a lot of folks that are out there and a lot more coming up. We don't have a lot coming in the next couple weeks, but the end of January and beginning of February and of course March is going to be really busy, and it's going to be so busy that I will not be able to go and look at everybody's site. So I'd like to include everybody that I possibly can in the update. So if you're a thru hiker, please send me your updates, because it will get so many folks out there, I will not have time to go and look at everybody's site to update you in that manner. So if you could send those updates to me, you can send them through direct message through Facebook or Instagram or through my email, and that is all down in the description section there. We want to include everybody that wants to be included, and we will look forward just to updating the hiker community on how things are going with you. And do not worry about when you do update me. I do not give out your exact position. I'm typically, maybe a little behind purposely, or a little vague, and speaking in general terms of where you're at. So I do that for hiker safety. So, if you tell me your exact position, I'm not going to tell folks, exactly where you're at. We do have over 200 folks that we're tracking right now, and so if you'd like to be on that list, I encourage you down in the description section. There is a link to the form that you can go and fill out, and you fill that out and it automatically puts you and updates you to that Google spreadsheet. And if that's something you don't feel comfortable doing, then just send me your information and I'll be glad to put you on that list myself. You may actually be out there on the trail now and it's just too difficult for you to do that from the trail. Don't worry, I'll take care of it for you if you'll just send me your information. So I want to mention something about maxing out the trail. I know I've covered that before, but some folks just discover the channel and this is maybe the first video that they're looking at. So when I say the trail is maxed out, that means that the ATC has said 38 hikers is the maximum the trail can take. That does not mean that is the maximum that they will allow to hike on the trail. So if you go down to Amicalola, or if you don't register and you just get on the trail, nobody is going to make you not hike. Nobody's going to make you wait another day or wait till the next day or some other time in the future. They will register you and allow you to get on the trail. Just understand that what they're saying by that max is that you may get to a campsite or a shelter site and not have a place to stay. So, one of the places that a lot of people stay, if they go from start at Springer, they may go all the way to Hawk Mountain Shelter, which is about 8 miles away. So there's a lot of campsites around there. Of course, you're not supposed to be staying in the shelters, so that's why they have dropped it down from 50 to 38, because a lot of shelters down there will hold 12 people in Georgia, and so they've taken 12 away from 50 equals 38. So that's their reasoning behind that. But 38 people on one day is still a lot of people out there. And so, if you're number 39, you may not find a campsite somewhere, because not every shelter has as many campsites as Hawk. They're not all wide open. Some of them are, fairly restricted. So keep that in mind. and that's why they've got that maximum there. Just understand that, you know, also the trail, the more people on the trail, the more wear and tear happens to the trail, and you know, the more trash there is. The privies are not open, you're not supposed to be using them, so the more you've got TP blossoms everywhere for people not digging cat holes and everything. So just keep that in mind whenever you're determining and looking at the charts and determining when you're going to start your thru hike. Don't forget, we've got 2 folks out there that we are highlighting for fundraisers to help the community. That's Fresh Ground and the Leapfrog Cafe, and he starts his trek feeding hikers on February 14th, so we're raising funds for him. You can go to his Facebook page, just look up Fresh Ground and the Leapfrog Cafe is the best way to find it, or there's a link down in the description section as well where you can go and find it, and you can go and give to him, give to his cause. That is a very worthy cause. Fresh Ground does a wonderful job, and so I'm hoping that lots of folks will go and give to him so he can feed as many hikers as possible. He is out there for the majority of the year and the majority of the hiker season. And then we've also got where you can do Trail Magic from your, it's called Trail Magic from your desk, and that is the station at 19E over in Roan Mountain. So you can go and buy a bunk for a hiker, or bunks, or a craft beer, or just put some cash down on account so that they can purchase food, maybe do some slack packing or something like that there. They've got a lot of food that they can purchase for, you know, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So go there and do that. The goal is that they have at least 1 item for each thru hiker that comes through there this year. So that's Nobo and Sobo and Flip Flop. So go in there and do that, and contribute to both those. That would be great. That really, both of those really help the thru hikers out a lot. As I said before, I'll be coming out later in this week with something, more information on the bag tags and registration, and so just stay tuned for that. Folks, I appreciate you watching. Thanks for tuning in. Go and support those thru hikers and subscribe to this channel so you'll get my notice of my weekly updates. Leave a comment. I'll answer any questions you got. If I don't know the answer, I'll make something up, and it'll sound good anyway. That's all I got this week, folks. As always, appreciate you, and we'll see you out here.